And now, the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Staton and Tyler Hansbrough.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. This is Sleep Dog with a Big Hawk.
What's up, everybody? It's the Big Hawk. Man, what a beautiful time of the year. Sleep, it is amazing out. I've been outside. I spent a couple ouhours outside today. It was wonderful. And glad to be in the studio with you.
Pleasure to be here. A little chilly today, a little overcast, but look, at least it didn't get dark at 4 p.m. Sorry. Daylight savings is nigh. We're here. My favorite thing to do in emails now is write EDT, like Eastern Daylight Time, because most people don't know that it's now Eastern Daylight Time, not EST anymore. That's Standard Time. This makes me feel like I know something that some other person doesn't. Totally useless knowledge, like 99% of what's in my brain. Anyway, guys, we got, we hung in there against Duke. We're going to talk about that. But nonetheless, we went down. Sweep for Duke. Duke's number one in the country right now. Number one in the ACC. Goes without saying. We'll break down the recap of the game. We'll get Big Hawks State of the Union. We'll break down the ACC awards and talk basically about the ACC tournament through the Carolina lens. What did Tar Heels have to do? And our good friends down at NC State, they canned their coach, Kevin Keats. The old guy never saw a foul that he agreed with called against the Wolfpack. Now he had plenty of time to figure out what went wrong. So Big Hawk might have a little inside scoop on a new coach over there. But, yeah, kind of melancholy, man. The Heels are in a heap of uncertainty as we head into March, a place that we aren't often, although we found ourselves a couple of past 4 or 5 years here now. But let's start with the recap, Big Hawk. They kept it close early, kept it close till about 7-minute mark, and then that was all she wrote.
I just want to start by saying the atmosphere to start the game was electric, Sleep. It was – the Smith Center was rocking. It was rocking. The stars were out. We had Lawrence Taylor was in the building, Julius Peppers, Billy B, Bill Belichick was in the building. Coach Williams was in the building. Bobby Frazier,
Big
Marcus
Hawk.
Ginyard, Sheed, the Prez was in the building.
I did see Sheed wearing his sunglasses.
Yeah. People were asking me who I was sitting next to. I said, Jelly Roll.
Oh, God.
Justin Jackson was right next to me.
Justin Jackson was there. Got to get him on the pod.
Yeah, and I just want to say to start the game, our kids came out fighting. They fought hard.
Yep.
And I walked into the building, didn't think we were going to win.
Yeah.
And midway through the first, I got into it. I was like,
yeah,
we may do this thing. And I
Might
looked over at Frazier and I said, this building may pop if we get this dub. Then we may take the dome off the Smith Center tonight if we win. I was fired up. I was ready to go. I was ready to get a dub. We came out really well. I felt like we started the game with energy. We actually got Cooper Flagg in foul trouble. He got 3 in the first. We took the lead. We were playing great. And honestly, I really felt like we maxed out our potential the first half against Duke. I really felt like guys went out there, were hitting shots. We didn't get the benefit of the whistle. I felt like there were some calls, 50-50, that didn't go our way, especially the Knippel shoulder kind of bump at half court.
Agreed.
There's a loose ball. I felt like
loose ball, yep.
They missed that one. But listen, the refs didn't lose us this game. Now, the refs can lose you a game, but not this one. The one thing I say that really hurt us is we went stagnant in the second. We just didn't score when we needed to. We went through a lapse of we didn't have the ability to score. We couldn't get a bucket when we really needed to. And I felt like that's where this game was really won by Duke, and that's where they broke this game open. Late in the second, I felt like they were scoring. We didn't really have an answer defensively, and we went stagnant, kind of like we do and have tendency to do during games. We kind of get into that half-court flow. Even though our half-court game has been much better, we just couldn't find ways to get a bucket when we really needed it, probably midway through the second, and that's where Duke just kind of opened up the game. If I had to look back over it, I wish we would have attacked Cooper Flagg a little bit more to start the second half, especially when he had 3 fouls. Maybe try to get him that 4th foul. That really puts a lot of pressure on Duke because they're a different team without him. When we realized it when he was on the bench in the first, and Duke is the most complete team in the ACC by far. They're a contender. I really feel like they have a lot of different weapons, and the one thing about Duke when you watch them in person is their length. They're the lengthiest basketball team in college this year. The metrics back that up as well. And the Maluwatch kid, even though he doesn't have like huge stats, he affects every shot in the lane. He dominates the paint. He is much bigger in person. He looks like he's almost dinosaur-esque. I mean, I absolutely love that kid, and I think he's going to be a heck of an NBA player. And he's a player that he doesn't really get a lot of attention because of how good Cooper Flagg is, and also Con Knippel's such a good player. But Duke is a much better team this year, and I felt like our kids really fought hard, but we lost this game because of our inability to get Cooper Flagg the 4th foul in the second half. I thought we should have attacked him, and also we did not score when we needed to late in the second, and Duke's just a better team. And I thought we fought hard, but it's just they're a much better team this year.
Yeah, I think this is what it boils down to. We gave them about as much as we could give them. And ultimately, when you look at the stat sheet, it's kind of amazing that we stayed as close as we did when you look at the shooting splits, right? Like, I'm with you. I thought the game was pretty fairly officiated. Like, I think I don't think any of those fouls on Cooper Flagg were cheap ones. And I'm with you. Early in the second half, I mean, I'm like, there were a couple times where he's in the lane, and there were a couple times when, like, I don't necessarily it didn't even feel like they were specifically going at him, but they just wound up at him. And, he did, bullfighter, he's hadn't let people go to the hoop, and you just couldn't expose that. That was an advantage that you had to take advantage of, and I don't think did enough of that. But at the end of the day, you lost to a better team. Duke is number 1 in the country, and as much as I loathe saying it, I think right here, right now, they're the favorite. I think Auburn's great, despite a couple losses. I think Houston's a good team. There's some other good teams out there, but like Cooper Flagg's the best player in college basketball, and it's not close. And barring something unfortunate, I think he's going to have a real opportunity here to like make his stamp and establish his legacy as like one of the greatest single season players, at least that we've seen in a long time. So when you chalk all that up, Carolina desperately needed a win. We talked in the last episode whether they could get in without one, and we'll explore that possibility a little more. I do think that if they had run it to the wire, this is my own personal opinion, means I have based it in nothing other than it just is a field play. I mean, a lot was said about how well we were playing coming into the game, but I mean, we just weren't playing anybody, and if we could have pushed them a little farther, held it close, another 5 minutes and lost that game by 3-5, I think we have a decidedly different argument, perhaps, but the truth is we're we're 5th right now in a bad ACC. That's only looking like they're going to get 4 teams in, and that 4th one might even be a stretch. It almost feels like the 4th is just because you kind of have to, because it's ACC, right? Of course, ACC tournament's yet to be played. But that's it, man. I think it just boils down to, look, at the end of the day, it's no secret. Duke's a great team this year. They're well coached. We'll talk about, postseason awards. We'll get into just how good a coach we think they have, but a few other people must not. So look, you can't quite hang your head here. It's an opportunity, but I mean, I think this is about as good as we could have expected to play. I think the game was closer than the score really indicated, but ultimately that's what happens, it seems, in college basketball is the good teams, they win the game in the last sort of 5-10 minutes of it, and that's what happened. Jump into the Big Hawks State of the Union address. Big popular thing to do right now. Big Hawk. So we're with the loss, a win. And I still think you're going to have a contingency of people that would argue that it wasn't enough. I think Carolina fans are going to say, hey, look, we won. I think it would have been 7 straight at that point. Maybe it would have been 8. Beat Duke. That would have been huge, but we didn't get it. Yeah. So what is the state of the Tar Heels as we enter the ACC tournament as a tournament 5 seed?
Well, you mentioned it. We are, the state of the union, just from the eye test right now, we're playing our best basketball. We'd won 6 in a row. We came in here. We gave Duke a good fight, good enough as we could give them. We have found our lineup. We found guys that work well with each other. We're starting to play better in the half-court set. We've kind of found our rhythm heading into the ACC tournament. Our net ranking is 40th. That's not that bad. I think a lot of people, a lot of these bracket experts have teams with a higher net ranking getting into the tournament than us. I do think we're kind of like one of those first 4 out teams, my personal opinion. And not just base that off of our lack of quality wins. Our best win is UCLA. That's our only quad 1 win. We have no quad 2 losses, 7-0 in the quad 2, 1-11 in quad 1. And then quad 3 still, we have that Stanford loss, 6-1. That's going to be talked about coming up on our resume. And then our quad 4, we're 6-0 right there. We finished 5th in the ACC regular season standings. Still, I personally, I don't think it's good enough to get into the tournament right now. I think it's going to come down to us having to win a couple games or make it to the championship semis of the ACC tournament. We're going to have to get a couple in here. And that's just what it is, because I think a lot of teams that are fighting for a tournament spot right now, they're going into with the same mentality. And a couple of these teams that are borderline teams, they're going to get a couple wins in their conference tournament. So we need to go ahead and get a couple wins as well. And I think that's going to help our resume that much more. Right now, if we were to get bounced in the ACC tournament, I don't think we're in. But it's going to be interesting. Again, Bubba, he is part of the selection committee. We'll find out on Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. But right now, we've got to get a couple wins in the ACC tournament to really feel good about getting into the NCAA tournament.
Should we do a live episode or an ACC selection show? That'd be cool. Yeah, I think I'm with you 100%. I just think we're outside looking in right now. It's just interesting. I mean, the chips, every team controls their own destiny going into the tournament, right? You win the tournament, you're in. I think even, Duke game notwithstanding, we still played well, right? So we are still playing our best basketball. You're going to open up with Notre Dame or Pitt. Whoever wins that game on Wednesday. And, if we keep rolling, I guess it's possible. Maybe somebody, maybe we get Duke, in a championship game. Maybe somebody bounces them. Really, they're the only one that seems, I don't want to say unbeatable, but they're the only one that's just a clear-cut contender for the national title out of the ACC. That goes without saying, right? So it's possible. Could you sneak a quad 1 win in there and not win the tournament? Yeah. So, Louisville's a good team. Some other good teams in the league. Clemson's a good team. So I haven't even really looked at how the path might look.
Our first quad 1 opportunity, I think, would be in the semis, and that would be on Saturday or Friday against Duke. If Duke
so, you got to get through them to get there.
Yeah, so Duke will play the winner of Georgia Tech, Virginia. More than likely, Duke will win that. And if we beat whoever wins the Notre Dame Pitt game, then we would play
Wake Forest.
And then we beat them. Obviously, we would probably match up against Duke in the semis, which would be a hell of a way for us to get a quad 1. And
so that's an interesting thing there, because that really is our path. Like, you got to win these first 2, and you got to think you're going to play Duke. So that brings up a really interesting thing. You really have to beat Duke to get in. I mean, unless Duke's not there, I think you have to beat them. Because if you beat Notre Dame and Pitt and you turn around and beat Wake Forest, and then you lose to Duke, like say we play them well, like we did last time, and you just don't get it done. I still think you're on the outside looking in. So it's like, deja vu all over again. In terms of what we need to do. Now, whether we get there, we tell this all the time. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit on the ACC tournament breakdown. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, at this point, unless there's teams on the bubble that I'm not aware of that just absolutely, soil the bed, I think it's hard for us to get in. But on that note, I feel like he's talking a lot about Duke, but we're getting ready to get to ACC awards. Unfortunately, that's what we're going to talk about some more. We had RJ make second team all ACC, and that was all the Tar Heels had from what my glance at it. Big Hog, you are far better versed than I. What is your take on the awards? Ian Jackson made all rookie team, which rightfully so. Aside from that, what are your takeaways? Maybe run us down through the awards and give us your 2 cents.
I don't have the all rookie team in front of me, but I have no problem with who they put in for these awards. First team, Cooper Flagg, Maxime, Raynaud, the big from Stanford who's been playing unbelievable. Chucky Hepburn, a lot of people have him first team All-American as well. He's been playing unbelievable. And listen, Louisville, you got to give them a lot of credit. Pat Kelsey won ACC Coach of the Year, which, he finished second in the ACC. I think this is sometimes I have a little bit of a conflict with the Coach of the Year award. Should it go to a coach who went to a program in a bad state and kind of made them relevant and good again? Or should it go to the coach that's had an unbelievable year and has put their team in position to win a national championship? Now, Pat Kelsey in Louisville, they're not going to win the national championship. They're not a contender, in my opinion. Where I have a problem with these awards, I think Jon Scheyer got snubbed. And, I sat here and I looked at the awards when they came out and I kind of laughed. I can't believe that Jon Scheyer didn't get ACC Coach of the Year award. And the reason I say that is because in the media and from the outside perspective, in this new NIL portal era, we have not seen a lot of coaches take young freshmen and win. And you've seen a lot of coaches, and you've seen it in the tournament especially, you've seen teams that have taken these portal transfers, these fifth-year guys who are 24, 25. Memphis had a 26-year-old not so long ago on their roster. And teams like this, San Diego State, they were an older team, more veteran team, some transfers, whatever, when they made that Final Four run. Now, we haven't seen a lot of guys, come in with freshmen and win like this. And I just felt like that goes to Jon Scheyer and what he did at Duke. And I know that, listen, we have a lot of Tar Heel listeners, and this can be not a popular opinion amongst our listeners, but you've got to give him credit for what he's done. He's taken young freshmen, and he's won. He's made their team really tight. They play as hard as team. They play as hard as any team in the country. They're young and they're winning. And, I just kind of felt like that award, I think Jon Scheyer got snubbed a little bit, but I have no problem with the first team. All these guys are playing unbelievable. RJ making second team. I really felt like RJ didn't really catch his rhythm until later on in conference play. You saw that he was playing unbelievable against Duke. I mean, when he got on the fast break and he pulled up for a three from the top of the key, that was a hero shot. Not the best shot to take in that situation, but he was on a heater. I think he's been playing unbelievable lately, but he got into a little slump early on, and I don't know what it was, the pressure or just kind of the newness of the team. He didn't really start rolling until later, but these awards were kind of I have no problem with it. I think I can make an argument that maybe Con Knipple could fall into that first team spot.
Yeah.
in Shefflin, he makes a little case to fall into that first team spot as well. But, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is, the Shire. I mean, dude, your team's number one in the country. And undeniable number one in the country. And what did they lose? One game in the conference?
Yeah.
So, look, and again, like the feel-good award is Louisville for sure. But it's hard to coach teams in this era of college basketball. And you look at what's happened to a lot of really good teams up and down seasons, and Duke has just been there all year, bona fide contender. So I feel the same way. Speaking of coach, we talked a little bit about ACC tournaments. We can go on to that because one thing we haven't talked about ACC wise is old Kevin Keats down there at NC State. So speaking of coaches, he got the old door. The year at this is kind of the crazy part. Like, look, I said last year publicly, at least definitely on this podcast, probably 15 times, and to like everybody that I didn't even have to listen to. I say anybody that will listen to me, but nobody listens to me. But the best thing that happened for a Carolina fan was that State went to the finals, to the Final Four, because Kevin Keats was going to stick around. They signed a new contract and all this stuff, and they fired him this year. Now, granted, I don't even think they didn't make the tournament, did they? The ACC tournament. That's the weirdest era to me. The weirdest thing about the state of college basketball is that you have to make the conference tournament. That just blows my mind. Did he deserve to get fired? Sure, he did. I'm just surprised they did it. After, dude, you take NC State to the NCAA, to the damn Final Four, like maybe you catch like a break. No, I've always thought that all Kevin Keats ever did was complain about calls, and I think honestly, NC State. If you ever watch an NC State game, dude, you could see they could hit an outlet pass, and the kid could not dribble the ball and run all the way down the court and lay it in, and they whistle him for a travel, and Kevin Keats would be up the referee's ass about how it was bad. I just never seen anybody that spends 60% of his time during the game complaining, not just talking or it doesn't ever even seem like he's trying to maneuver the referees. Just straight up complaining about them. Guy always got on my nerves. Don't know him. Probably the nicest guy in the world. Knows a hell of a lot more about basketball and Sleep Dog. But got on my nerves watching him.
I don't know, Sleep. I don't know. Listen.
Maybe I do know more than he does. Maybe I should apply for the job. State job.
Listen, Sleep.
When you go funding getting cut. You never know, dude.
When you go 0-11 on the road in conference play, you're going to be on the hot seat. Did not win a conference road game this year. And listen.
And we ain't a good conference either.
Listen, yeah, on a down year. This ain't the old ACC. This is the portal era ACC. But
yeah.
Listen, I'll just say this. This was in the works last year until they got on that magical run. And State fans, I think they were, significantly surprised at the late season success that they had. And I just think that their lack of effort, and you look at some of their games at home, no one was going to those games.
Yeah.
And listen, when it comes to who's going to be the next coach of NC State, listen, where there's a will, there's a Wade. William Wade from McNeese State. I stole that from Twitter, by the way. Will Wade from McNeese State. He is a guy who I think is probably more than likely, according to an inside source, he's probably going to be the next coach at NC State. Based on what I'm hearing a lot of rumors. It's not official, but Will Wade, to me, is the lead candidate right now. And listen, William Wade, a lot of controversy. He's been in the spotlight a lot. And listen, I've interviewed him on the field of 68. There's not a smoother car salesman. I walked away from that interview. I went in there. Wasn't a big fan of Will Wade. I walked out of that interview. I was like, man, this guy, I like this guy. And he's got a little bit of smooth to him. And listen, I think it's a perfect fit. I really do. I think it's a perfect fit. I think the fan base will really accept Will Wade. There's no way he could come over here. He's not by the book. He has
got baggage.
He's got a lot of baggage, and he is by any means necessary coach. And he will and listen, he will make NC State good. And I mean this, and this will be good for the overall of the ACC when it comes to basketball in our conference. NC State, I think, will become relevant again, and they'll have good, consistent teams. And I think that'll be good for the conference overall. That'll be good for the rivalry, and also that would be good for the Wolfpack fan base because they've been starving. And I can't wait to see how prideful they get when they get a little squad in there with some decent players, because they'll let you know about it even when they do suck. They don't care how bad their season is. They're going to talk. And I can't wait to hear them when they're actually pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, a lot has changed. And a lot of the stuff that he's probably under the gun for, I'm not saying wouldn't be under the gun for now, but a little less so probably. You know, some of the inner workings of, you know, how players are recruited these days. Like, I mean, if this stuff happened 5-10 years ago, like it would have been, you know, headline news. And now it's just kind of how the way things work. So I definitely do, and I'm not even being like sarcastic about that. Like, I think that there's this like opportunity for some of these guys to be like born again coaches. You know, like we see some weird stuff. Like, I'm not well versed on the history of like each coach and what they've done wrong and whatever. Like, I kind of remember some of their high level stuff, but like one name that comes to mind to me is Rick Pitino. I mean, dude, this guy's just like just killing it right now. And, you know, his career was left for dead, you know? So, and I think it's just a different era. So yeah, absolutely. You gotta, and I think honestly, it could play to a program's favor in a lot of ways, having a guy with that kind of mentality that just like understands like, hey, now we can, be a little bit aggressive, because I think a lot of those people thought, you know, during those times that like, hey, this is the only way to compete. It's like steroid era in baseball. You know, it's like, hey, everybody else is doing it. Like, I'm out of a job if I don't. So I got two options. Not making any excuses for anyone, but, you know, I think now you kind of look back at it and, you know, you realize that, I mean, this is kind of the way it was all along. And I don't know that there are that many more rules now than there were then.
I just want to say this. Carolina fans, buckle up. You guys are going to sleep. You're going to have a hate like anything else. And Will Wade, he's going to draw attention. He's going to do some things. And listen, if he gets a job, it's going to be interesting.
Go ahead and break it. You should have just said, you know what's happening. We'll break it here on SleepHawk Worldwide. This will be first reported on SleepHawk Worldwide. Shams, when he says something about it, we need to put us on the map, Shams. No, I think you're exactly right. It'll be fun because he'll say something, you know, out of pocket and get everybody up in a tizzy. But you're right. I mean, like, at least it's better than a lifeless ACC, which it feels like we have this year. It's like Duke is really good and everybody else, even if like a couple decent teams we have, it's just like, nobody really cares. So, I mean, I do think it's good for the league if, you know, we have multiple competitors like we always had. Any chance, dude, Steph Curry, assistant general manager Davidson, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I think he'll get some. Speaking of just getting people in the doors, I mean, good chance he gets some players to come. And don't know how much time he's got left, you know? So,
he's on the back end. He was a little bit of, if Carolina fans don't know this, Steph Curry was my roommate at the NBA draft combine. It's a little tidbit there for you. Good dude, man. Quiet guy. Just like I am curious with all these other GM jobs, what does this mean? Like, what? Steph Curry being assistant GM at Davidson is, I like Steph Curry. I don't know, like, what's that mean? Like, what? Okay, is that just we give Steph like a name so we can get some recognition towards the program? I don't know I don't know how proactive or how involved he'll be. I'm just curious to see what his role will be.
I'll tell you this, and I can't believe this has made me remember. I can't believe I haven't already started complaining about this. But I went to the Hornets Warriors game last Monday, and I showed up as soon as the doors opened, trying to meet Jonathan Kuminga. Steph was there at shoot around at 6 o'clock, and he rolled up to the arena in a Davidson hoodie, and there was like clearly some Davidson, either like I think they were like Davidson athletes, current athletes. I'm old enough where I can't tell whether they're in 3rd grade, 13th grade, or if they're
junior in college.
Yeah, 30. But they were all there, a bunch of people wearing Davidson stuff. And, dude, he went up before the game and talked for good 15, 20 minutes to, like, all kinds of kids, taking pictures, signing autographs and stuff. So just, he obviously has a very look, if I were him, I would love that place because it's like the ultimate middle finger to everybody. It's like, dude, one of the greatest players that ever lived. And I went to Davidson. That was super cool. Yeah.
Do you think he does 1 year in Charlotte?
No way.
I don't think that. I mean,
he'll stay in Golden State. There's just no way.
Yeah,
not in the modern era of basketball. Like he'll stay there.
I just remember like he has so many connections in Charlotte. His dad works for the Hornets TV show. His family lives there. It's just like I'm just like, man, I wonder if they actually, think they have a shot at getting Steph for a year just to get some ticket sales up.
Steph doesn't strike me as one of those guys that won't be able to let go for whatever reason. He doesn't strike me as a guy that'll hang on too long. It was fascinating, man, to see him there. They love him. He had a pretty pedestrian game, but it's fascinating to watch him, man. Like, I tell you who else is really good is LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
Dude has the skinniest legs I've ever seen. Like, one of my legs is 2 of his legs. And he is a freak. I mean, he was the best player that night. He was the best player on the court easily.
Do you think he's good enough to lead a team to deep in the playoffs? Because I do not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think he's a really skilled player. I just think that I just think that a lot of teams that play Charlotte, it just felt this way. Everybody can just sort of ho-hum it around, and then, when you get to the fourth quarter, you just put them away, and they have nobody else.
Yeah.
I think he's a good scorer, but he can't defend post.
And my knock is I don't think he's efficient enough. And I think that for Charlotte to be a contender, I think LaMelo is so ball dominant, and also he's a high volume shooter. I just don't think that you can surround him with other stars and make it work, because I think there's going to be a chemistry issue because he has to get so many shots up to put up the stats or have the impact on the game that he does. So it's just like a debatable question I've heard so often, like, what is the long game with LaMelo and Charlotte? Because I've seen him involved in a lot of trades, and I know you're an NBA guy too, and it's kind of relevant because it is in Charlotte, and a lot of people, it's not like the Hornets have been super relevant, but they've had some decent players, and it seems like they've got the young kid Brandon Miller who's out for the year, but they have some potential, and I just wondered if LaMelo is one of those pieces they can move to get a few pieces in return to make them at least like a playoff or playoff team. But
he's such a popular player.
Yeah,
he is very. I mean, dude, he led the All-Star vote and didn't get elected to the All-Star team. And I think that's the reason why they're so hard to part with him, is because, I mean, that franchise, it really just seems like all they're trying to do is make money right now, because they don't really have an option. It's like, hey, if you're going to lose, you might as well make money. And I think, dude, Charlotte has a fun kind of experience. They do this thing though, where like they play this like swarming bees sound at various times during the game. You're just like, dude, turn that off. Like, it doesn't even make sense. But it's, it's a bummer because I wish the Hornets were more competitive. Like Mark Williams, that whole situation was weird. Speaking of Duke, they traded him away, and he like allegedly failed the physical, and they brought him back. And it's like, I know you're high on Dalton Connect, and I think he's a good player, but like, dude, Mark Williams is a really solid big. And if you got him and Miller and LaMelo Ball's still really young, like 25 or something. Like, I mean, I don't even know if he's that old. Like, that's a good core. I think LaMelo is. I think he could be a second piece. Like, I think he could play a complementary role. I think he's probably a smart enough basketball player where, he'd find a better. I think he's only ever known being the main option. He's only known it when he was young. He's only known it, in Charlotte. And it's kind of like when what it reminds me of is when Carolina had Cole Anthony that year we didn't make the tournament. I can't tell you how many times I watched that game. Like 4 seconds left on the shot clock, and we haven't even crossed the timeline, and everybody just looks at Cole Anthony, waits on him to shoot it. Yeah. And that's kind of the impression I got in that game. I mean, he shot one three off one leg, which was like midway through the shot clock. This wasn't like a, got to get this shot off thing. Yeah, I mean, he was good, man. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing in Charlotte is nobody really takes him seriously. Everybody rests. The only star that ever seems to really, really always play in Charlotte is Steph because he's from there. But like LeBron, you ain't seeing LeBron playing the Hornets. That's the game that everybody looks to take off. But the funniest part of it all, and why I can't believe I didn't say this sooner, guys. I literally bought these tickets to go to this game, sit courtside. And Sleep Dog ain't really got it like that. That's just like, that's not a flex. It's a Hornets game, okay? I'm on like baseline courtside, which is like, not even really courtside. Great seats, though. Got sick pictures of Steph Curry and videos and stuff. But all I want to do is see Kuminga. I'm wearing a bright yellow T-shirt with Kuminga's face on it. Now, I bought these tickets, and within 24 hours, Jonathan Kuminga sprains his ankle, and he has missed 31 games since then. He is not playing tonight. And he may not play Thursday night. It's been January 4th. I bought the tickets January 3rd, okay? But I'm like, hey, maybe that's a good thing. I'll get there super early. He's been scrimmaging and shooting around and stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm wearing a bright yellow T-shirt with his face on it. Surely a dude will come like say what's up, right? Wasn't even in the arena. Traveled with the team. I don't even know how that's physically possible. To travel from California to Charlotte. I mean, like, what was he doing? Did he fly back home? The Ritz-Carlton, where they stay, dude, is next door.
I will bet that he was probably in the locker room watching the game. I've been anytime I dealt with injuries when I was in the NBA I was out for a significant time when I was with Indiana my rookie year. I didn't travel with the team, but in Toronto, I remember I injured my ankle and I was out for a couple of weeks. I traveled with the team. I just stayed in the locker room and worked out during the game.
Dude, maybe that keeps your body in rhythm or something. I kid you not, at one point I took my wife and I'm sitting on the baseline and they come out over my right shoulder on the other side of the goal. So I'm like far away from the tunnel, but I kid you not, the first half of the game just like looking over to the side, like, is he coming? Is he? And at one point, Mary, my wife, goes, "Are you all right? You look sad." And I'm like, you know what? I think I am really sad. I'm 41 years. I'm old enough to be Jonathan Kuminga's father. And I was like bummed out. I felt like a little kid. I was so sad that I did not get to see him. I've been looking forward to that for months. And but I'll tell you, dude, what. Since they traded for Jimmy, they are 11-1 when Jimmy's played. They are 11-2, 11-1 when Jimmy's played. They're up to number 6, and they are flirting with number 4 in the Western Conference. LeBron just went out. Dude, Kuminga comes back. It'll be interesting to see if he fits.
So
they're going to make some noise, brother.
They've been on this long run without Kuminga?
Yes.
Do you think that if you're a coach, you're going to implement Kuminga when they've been playing as good as they played all year?
They will. They won't just put him in there day one. But dude, remember at the beginning of the season when I said his stat lines were going to be, and when he started getting a chance, his stat line is pretty close to that.
I want our viewers, our listeners to know all across the world, and everyone, all our millions that are tuned in right now. I was hoping that Kuminga would be the biggest jerk to sleep if they ever had an interaction, just so we can end the Kuminga stuff. I was hoping that Sleep would like walk by Jonathan Kuminga and be like, yo, what's up?
They call security.
Big fan. Like, dude, come on, man, get out of here. Or something like that. I was just hoping for that interaction. But.
And in some ways it was even worse because at least I'd have declaration of whether or not a guy likes me or not. It's like, dude, I'm day one. I'm a lot of people say they're big fans. I feel like if you give me the opportunity, I could actually prove it. Like, dude, I've been up at 3:00 in the morning watching you play for the Congo in the FIBA tournament. Okay, not even an Olympic year. So like, I'm for real. I've been here, day one guy. Dude, when he comes back, I'm telling you, they're going to make some noise, dude. Jonathan Kuminga is going to be a star in the NBA. He is going to be an all-star. I'm telling you. Nobody believes me. That's fine.
No, there's a chance. There's a chance.
There's always a chance. But, yeah, it just won't going to be this year. Let's see. There was one other thing. Oh, it was my son's birthday. It was Taz's birthday. That's why I wasn't in town for the Duke game. Shout out to Taz. I don't think he knows his father has a podcast. He probably can't wait to not listen to it like everybody else in my family. But that was a great day. So even though Duke lost, Sleep Dog is Taz was won, so that eased the burden. I try to dress him up in Carolina stuff, and that's one thing you learn as a father. Like, you have no say in what a child wears ever, nowhere. Dress him up in a bunch of dumb stuff all the time. I don't know, man. I think that's about all I have. Heels, got to get some W's out here. We'll be back, I guess, Selection Sunday to recap that and see where we are then. You got anything else, Big Hawk?
Stay safe.